Hello everyone, and thank you all for being here. Thank you Orlindo for the kind invitation. And I would like to start with a question. What do you see when you look to our planets? Blue, right? So you would say the majority of our Earth's surface, our home, is made by seawater, a vital thing for us. And as Einstein said once, there's two infinite things: universe and human stupidity. And I couldn't agree more. In the human parts, I mean, because the universe, I'm not so sure. Otherwise, why would we keep destroying our own life support system? Throwing every day tons of plastic in the ocean, heavy metals and pesticides are still killing our precious megafauna. Overfishing. Bycatch, for the ones that don't know, are the species that are caught in the nets, non-selective nets, and those species that are not intended to be caught, they are discarded, dead or dying, and still being a brutal threat that the oceans face. Habitat destruction by coastal development, and the list goes on and on and on. So ocean conservation is vital, since it provides the oxygen we breathe, sustains biodiversity, and of course regulates our climate. And to be honest, I never intended to be a diver. That was an accident, a very happy accident. But I've always been connected with nature. This all began since my childhood. I was raised by my grandmother, because my parents were working overseas, and we had this ritual, playing in the vast pine forest that surrounded our house, and watching the nature documentaries every single Sunday. So I realized from that age that I wanted to be like the man in television. So thank you, Sir David Attenborough and my grandma for giving me clarity since such an early age. And then diving. Diving, as I said, was an accident for me, a very happy accident again. And even if things didn't work out well, I need to thank my ex-girlfriend because she introduced me to diving, something that changed my life forever. And was in this moment that I first realized that I could breathe in a hostile environment for human beings. And as a nature and wildlife lover, I could see dozens, if not hundreds of species just in the small area. I got insane. Very different from land, because on land you can walk kilometers in the forest and eventually you see one bird, if you're lucky enough. So this moment I got addicted. So I start finding ways to spend most of my time underwater. So I start studying the oceans. I become a marine biologist. I became a scientific diver so I can study marine protected areas and help monitoring. I was working for CCMAR back then from University of the Algarve. Then I became an open water instructor because I want to share my passion to university students, marine biology students. Then I got addicted to underwater caves, and caves were everything for me. So I kept training inside caves, and I was able to map the geomorphology and biodiversity of marine caves for my master thesis. Tech diving because I wanted to go deeper and stay longer. And eventually I stopped with rebreathers because rebreathers, as you know, no bubbles, allowed me to be closer to wildlife. But at the same time this was happening, as a musician, painter, and writer, I kept on creating art. Because what I do professionally doesn't really necessarily define who I am. So was at this moment when I found photography and video that I realized my role in this planet. Of course, as a tiny grain of sand in this universe, I found my purpose here. And my purpose is to share my passion and make people fall in love for the underwater world, and try to make them think differently, to show them how they can also help protecting nature, to connect them with nature. And this is when diving became really useful for me. So nowadays, diving for me represents a very important tool that allows me to portray wildlife and nature. And I'm not picky about the style. I can go free diving, it can be scuba, open circuit, closed circuit. The most important thing is being ready for the challenges that your subject represents. Snorkeling, I do a lot of snorkeling. There's a lot of wildlife just floating on the ocean surface. Dry diving, it's what I call this. Sometimes you don't even jump from the boat. And of course, no diving, because resting is as important as diving. So art has the power to transform, to illuminate, educate, inspire, and motivate. With wildlife photography, we can put people more connected with wildlife and represent or show and describe the complexity and the beauty that wildlife has that is difficult to put in words. And that's the power of wildlife photography. So through magazines, and through photojournalism, because I write and I do the pictures, I have the chance to get to the audience and to try to put the seeds on their heads about ocean conservation and representing the animals that are endangered and need our help. And then comes video, the power of video. So in this case, we have the shark, the feared shark. And my role here is making it look beautiful and not portrayed as it was in Jaws, those scary movies that changed the way we see this species. And by putting people more in touch with these animals and trying to kill that stigma of that top predators are the boogeyman, it helps shifting their mentalities. Big predators, endangered species. And if we capture behaviors like motherhood, that we humans are so in touch with this as well, we can shorten the distance that we have from wildlife if we can put people in the same skin as these animals. I think all mothers will relate. I had another video, but I just realized I signed the NDA, so I need to skip it real quick. I'm sorry, guys. You'll see it later in a TV show. So yeah, through cinema, I realized that I could reach a broader audience. I could reach more viewers and spread the conservation word. So this was the moment I created Chimera Visuals. It's International is a small production company, but we are focused in natural history and conservation. and we are with ends tied with NGOs, universities, scientific research, and we are responsible to tell their stories about these endangered species, these very important scientific projects that are trying to protect and conserve wildlife, and this is the role of my company. And the story that I bring you today is very dear to me, very special. I've been working with this subject since 2017 now, and it will show how arts can be very powerful in ocean conservation. How arts can contribute and have an important role in ocean conservation. So this is Rio Formosa, a very special lagoon system in the south of the Algarve, in the south of Portugal, Algarve. And this is home for hundreds of species, iconic species like land species like the chameleon, the flamingo, and everyone is deeply dependent on this ecosystem, and humans are no different. And this place is known for their vast seagrass meadows. And in these vast seagrass meadows lives a very, very iconic and special animal, the mysterious seahorse. And in this place, we used to have the biggest population in terms of density of seahorses in the world. And in this lagoon, we have the short-snouted seahorse, scientific name Hippocampus gutulatus, and we have Hippocampus hippocampus, the short-snouted seahorse. And this, as you know, is a very special kind of fish. To start, they can choose a mate for life. Instead of a fin tail, they have a prehensile tail, just like the monkeys. They have chameleon eyes. They can be looking towards different directions at the same time, and as ambush predators, this helps them hunt very small and fast creatures like this cartoon-looking shrimp called mysids. And of course, it's one of the few species in the world that is the male giving birth. They can produce hundreds of larvae like this one, and this little fellow with less than 1 centimeter will be by his own in this vast lagoon, hoping for the best. However, recent studies, not so recent actually, but they keep on studying this problem, scientists discovered that the population is decreasing a lot, and it is actually in risk of extinction. While the monitoring work took place, they found that the species had a decline of 19% in its population. We're talking about the population with 2 million individuals. They went until 100-something thousand individuals in just a small period of time, 20 years, which is nothing, to decimate the biggest population of seahorses in the world. And the problem is habitat destruction, pollution, but the biggest problem and the biggest threat that population is facing happens at night when there's no ice in Rio Formosa. Poaching. And poaching is happening and is destined to the Asian market, and they dry these individuals and apply them in traditional Chinese medicine. So me and my team, we got fed up with this, and we tried our means to fight against this problem. And the format we found was let's make a documentary to create awareness about this problem and sit everyone at the same table. It can be government, it could be the fishermen, NGOs, municipalities, maritime police, and let's show what's going on and hear all of them, because all of them are part of the solution as well. So we did the filming, and we end up with war horses. Cavalos de guerra, translated in English, is war horses. War horses because they are fighters, and they are still here, even though the problems are so many. And now the question is, how did art play an important role or helped for the solution towards this problem? So, about the researchers, the government, after watching the documentary and after some meetings, of course, they got emotionally attached with the problem, and they unlocked a financial support like that I've never seen before, that amount of money. So that kept these guys going and studying the animals. This is the former Minister of the Sea, and is checking one of the first marine protected areas in these lagoons. So the government, for the first time ever, created 2 marine protected areas with full protected status in the lagoon. And this place is now being repopulated with seahorse bred in captivity. So they help the population to grow. And this is the minister. I invited him, and he's checking with his own eyes that it's true, that the population, luckily the numbers are rising slowly, but better than before. The fishermen, since the word portrayed not like the problem, but they are wrong many times, but they also are part of the solution. So once you portray the fishermen and give them a mic, let's say, to speak out, they feel that they are also part of the community. Because conservation and impact films, usually they just point fingers and they don't listen. And these guys were so happy that now some of them are actually the guardians of this place. They are the first ones calling me or some researchers. There's someone with some strange nets in this place where the seahorses are being protected. And they saw underwater also the garbage they were throwing. Because one thing is you throw, they are not divers, they don't see what's going on down there, they don't care. Once they see what the fishing art is doing to the bottom, they realize it was nasty. So they start changing eventually a little bit the negative behavior. The municipalities, they got proud. They realized how special this species is for the local communities. So they start giving the attention that this species deserve. This is in Olhão, it's considered the capital of Rio Formosa Lagoon, and this is right at the entrance of the city. So things are clearly changing. And last but not least, local schools started to teach, and they teaching programs about Rio Formosa and its iconic seahorse population. And seahorse, it's not just about seahorse. Seahorse is a flag species that represents the health state of this ecosystem. So protecting seahorses, we are protecting all the other species and us, because we are also dependent on this ecosystem. So in the end, I would say this is quite a good example of the power of art in ocean conservation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, João. Great work.